Hi, I'm James, and in this video we are taking a look at this, which is an HP Pavilion x360 convertible PC, and this model is the 11-u004na. So to start with, we have to expose the screws on the base of the laptop, and we are going to start in this back corner. I had already slightly lifted this rubber foot, and we need to just lift and peel that to expose the screws from underneath it. Next, we are going to take our pry tool and we are just going to use this to lift out these little covers at the front. Doing these just by pushing them in with the tip of the pry tool and pulling them out, and then this one on the right, and then in the centre we have a little flat plastic. These are always a little tricky to get out. I'm actually going to use the tip of a metal pry tool just to try and get this one lifted. These always like when you get them to ping out normally, but that one lifted okay. Now we are going to take our Phillips 00 screwdriver bit and we are going to work our way around and remove the screws from the base of the laptop. And as I do this, I position them just in the same order that I took them out. You do have different screws in different positions on this laptop, so it's best just to keep track of what came from where. And this is I believe it is a Pentium Silver N3710, something like that. So this isn't the highest performance machine you're ever going to encounter. But going to the SSD should give some fairly good performance benefits still. With the hard drive that was fitted as standard in this machine, it's pretty horrible and slow, and so we're just looking to improve the performance a bit and make it more usable for the owner day to day. Now that centre screw, we're going to just try dropping down to a tremolo. And yep, with the Phillips tremolo that has come out okay. And back to the 00 for these. So with the screws all removed from the base of the machine, we are going to flip over the laptop and we are going to open it up fully and lie the screen flat just to make things a little easier for us. Now with the machine opened up and all the screws removed from the base, we're going to take our pry tool, and what we want to do is slot this in between the palm rest and the base of the machine. Starting at the front proved easiest here, so if we can just go in, so pressing into the gap, and then same along the sides, down the other side, and with that done, then let's just lift. Then let's work our way along the back. There we go, with that done, we should now, a little more to release on this end, little tricky releasing on the back here. Let's just pull on that. There we go, just work that free, and then what we need to do is we need to lift this as high as we can, and we have two connectors here. In fact, let's drop the camera to get a better view. So with the base lifted and propped open, we have two connectors which we need to deal with now. So we have this where we pull this little grey tab to release the keyboard and slide that out, and then the second, which you may find a little hard to see, so just to limit my hand being in the way, I'm just going to use the tip of the pry tool to lift that clip there, peel up the cable because it is actually stuck down slightly, and out. And with that removed, we can then completely remove the palm rest. With the keyboard removed and palm rest removed and put to one side, our first job now is to unplug the battery. So to do that, we want to grip either side of this little battery connector and just ease it out the socket. Even if you aren't planning to replace the battery, I would recommend to do this. Just it means there will be no case where you're accidentally powering the machine whilst working on it. If you wish to remove the battery to replace it, it is held in with, looks to be 4 screws. So by removing these 4 screws, and to ease access, just moving this cable out the way, we can then just thread that cable out and lift the battery out of position, and then to replace it, simply slot it back into place, clip it over that little mounting post and the other on this side, and make sure that little slot there is in, reconnect that cable, push down that connector and reinsert the 4 screws. To replace the hard drive, our first task is here. We want to lift up this little connector and detach the SATA cable from the main board. We then need to undo the 2 screws that hold the hard drive into the machine. And with that done, we should then, using this little tab on the end, be able to lift out our hard drive. Our first job then is to disconnect the SATA connector, which we will need to transfer to our new drive, and then to remove the 4 screws which hold the drive into the caddy. This particular drive coming out is a Seagate 1TB drive. However, this is far more space than the user actually required, and we are just putting in its place a basic Crucial BX500 to 40GB drive, and I'll put a link in the description below to that. I'll also put a link in for the battery, which is a NU03XL type battery. So we insert the SSD into the caddy and refit the screws into the drive itself, making sure things are actually aligned. With that done, we then reattach our SATA cable to the drive and position it back in system. And reconnect that SATA cable. Now with this drive, what I'm going to do is clone the existing Windows install onto it. We could also do a clean install from a USB stick. I do have videos elsewhere on the channel showing both how to clone Windows with True Image onto a smaller SSD, or to create a bootable USB stick for fresh installs. Now that's all we're doing on this machine today. We can see that there is no upgradable RAM. Any memory on this is soldered to the mainboard, I believe, and we are not going to replace the wireless card, which should involve removing the mainboard on this particular system. So all that is left for us now is we are going to reconnect the battery. Now you could do this after refitting the palm rest, but it's a little trickier obviously to film that because of the angles involved. Dropping the camera down again, we now have to take our palm rest, and what I'm going to do is position this roughly in place, connect the main keyboard connector first. This is probably one of the trickiest bits of the whole job, because you have to get these in effectively blind with the that one in. Just fold that down and give it a little pull just to make sure it is in and secure, and then the trackpad, which goes in the opposite way, so we again push that in, a light pull just to make sure it is in place, and then we can drop down our palm rest. Having positioned the palm rest back in place, I generally recommend just firing the machine up to make sure everything is detected correctly and keyboard and touchpad are all connected okay. And then we can begin clipping down. So just by pressing around the edges of the palm rest to ensure everything is clipped into place. With that done, we then just have to flip over the machine, refit the screws, and we should be all done and ready to go. With the rubber foot that I've taken off the bottom, it had already started lifting on this machine before I received it, so I will be fitting some fresh double-sided tape onto that. Just a thin, I think it is a 3M tape which I use, just to ensure that that sits properly. But otherwise not too bad a job. Obviously, as I say, your upgrade options are fairly limited on this machine because there is no user replaceable RAM. It is soldered to the main board. but the SSD should give a pretty significant boost in performance. I hope you found this video useful. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comments below. Hit subscribe if you would like to see more videos as I post them, and like if this video has helped you with upgrading your machine. Thanks for watching and have a great day.